Hey there guys, and welcome to the second episode of the Blackbeard McFuckboy show, where we'll be talking all things black, queer, and scruffy. I'm your host, Blackbeard McFuckboy, and this week we're going to be talking about sexual identity and relationships from my point of view. So, as some of you at home may not know, I identify as bisexual, and I'm in a polyamorous relationship with my partner, Cam. So my partner Camden identifies as non-binary, which for some of you who may not know means that they do not identify with any one gender identity. Okay, so I know earlier I said that I identify as bisexual. Now, in a world where we in the LGBT community are constantly finding new identities to align ourselves with, a lot of people ask me the question, why do you not just identify as pansexual? So, by definition, a pansexual person is a person who is not limited in sexual choice by a person's biological sex, gender, or gender identity. Now, to counter that, the definition of bisexuality is a little bit more complex and constantly evolving. So, the Bisexual Resource Center defines bisexuality as someone who is attracted to the behaviors and gender identities of more than one gender. Traditionally, this has meant boy and girl, but as we continue to change the genders that one can identify with, and breaking down the barriers of what it even means to identify as a gender, of course the definition of bisexuality would have to change as well. Now, for me personally, I find attraction to both masculine and feminine gender identities and attributes. This means I can find attraction to someone who portrays themselves as physically masculine, but behaves more feminine traditionally, and also someone who presents themselves as physically feminine, but behaves more traditionally masculine. And of course, everything in between and outside of that as well. Gender identity to me, as someone who is cis, and so yeah, there's going to be some bias there, is something to be proud of and respected, but from a dating standpoint, someone's gender identity does not dictate whether or not I find them attractive. If anything, I should identify as pansexual, because if I'm attracted to you regardless of what you pull out of your pants, I'm gonna figure out a way to work with it. Okay, so now that we've gotten past that, I'd like to talk a little bit more about relationships and my own relationship status. So my partner Cam and I have a polyamorous relationship. Now, every polyamorous couple is different, and every couple has different terms that they adhere to for their relationship. So there's a total of 7 different forms of non-monogamy. There's cheating, which is sleeping with or engaging in romantic relationships with another person without the knowledge of your other partner. And then there's polygamy, which is the practice of having multiple wives or husbands. And then we have open relationships, which is basically just an umbrella term for anyone who has a partnership where they allow one or more partners to pursue intimate relationships with someone else. And then there's relationship anarchy, which is something I literally just learned about, which is a couple that rejects the idea of traditional relationship roles altogether and just goes by no rules. So think like Jim Jones, Free Love Society type of thing. Next we have our swingers, and our swingers are basically any couple who only engages in sexual or romantic activity with other couples, so it's like a complete 2-on-2 thing, nobody else outside of that. You know, you might have swingers clubs and things like that if you want to get weird, but that's basically what swingers are. Yeah, I think I explained that right. Yeah. And then number 6, another thing I didn't know about, or maybe just something I knew about but didn't know it had a label, monogamish couples. So a monogamish couple is a couple that identifies as monogamous, but they have a few special guest stars in the bedroom from time to time. So, yeah, any couple that's into threesomes, if you and your partner have had a threesome or two, you're probably monogamish. Which is like, you know, who the fuck isn't, right? And then last but not least, we have polyamory, which allows people to conduct multiple sexual and/or relationship partnerships at the same time. Now, within that, you have polyfidelity, which is where there are more than two partners, and you may have one partner who's the focus, or it could be everyone just attracted to each other. Then there's polyaffective relationships, which is where two partners have intimate relationships outside of each other that do not involve sex. This is kind of like the friend zone, except you're constantly in that stage between friend zone and, wow, are they fucking? You may also choose to identify this way if you're asexual, and sexual encounters will never be a part of the equation. Personally, for me and my partnership, we identify as poly, and the ultimate goal is to find another romantic and sexual partner. But, of course, if a hookup or 10 happens along the way, then I personally noticed less of an inclination for casual hookups since being in a polyamorous relationship, but that's also because I was a little bit of a slut while single, so take that with a grain of salt. No hard feelings as long as you're playing safe, because the thing to remember about polyamorous relationships is that your safety now extends to multiple people. So you're probably used to just thinking about yourself when it comes to things like STDs, but if you want to pursue a non-monogamous relationship, it's important to get tested and be sure that you're staying safe to keep yourself and your partners in check. Alright, that's all the time we have for today. Please remember to like my video and subscribe to my channel. And remember guys, stay scruffy.